Okay, so this is just a quick video. Well, I say a quick video, I don't know how long it's going to be, but I'm going to do the window regulator cable, because at the moment this one doesn't work. You can hear the motor going, hear the cable all crunching up in there. It's not working. So to start off, you need to remove the door panel, which is just literally a T20 screw right here. That just sits up in there. Then prise this off, just clips, and then you've got force T25s I've been using on 1, 2, 3, 4, and then once you've got those 4 off, very carefully clip all the poppers on the door card, and it should just come off like so, and then put that to one side. So you will be left with something like this. Don't be alarmed if this starts coming off. Just hook it over the top there, and there is a little latch down here somewhere that needs to go on. As you can see, somebody else has already been in here and supported my window with a bit of wood, which is a bit of a surprise for me, but hey, needs must, I suppose. So you're going to need to remove all of this, which comes up round here, round down, which is a bit annoying. It's quite brittle, it will break, it will come off slowly, but it is a nightmare. As you can see, it is really stuck. I suggest either heating it up or just using a bit of trim tool just to stick down behind there and try and get it out. But yeah, so once I've done that, I will show you the next bit. Once you've got all of this off, you will probably end up breaking some of it. It's so brittle and horrible. You do need to remove it, because hiding behind there is your motor screw and the bottom screw to the arm that goes right up. Once you've done that, you come up to the top here, you have to peel this off, because there's your top one. That is your top bracket bolt right there, which will be holding all of this on. You can go ahead and disconnect the connector, which should just pull up and slide off. That is that. And now might be a good idea to put some tape across both sides, and just to hold the window up, especially now I'm going to remove the wood. And yeah, I'll come back in a sec. Right, so where I'm at the moment is I've lowered the window down, which I'll explain why in a second, taped it, got the wood out, and the reason why I'm lowering it is because on the actual glass we have this bolt here, and then through here is another one, which if I can get my finger in, just there. Both the same size. I believe it is a... is it a T20? No, it's bigger than a T20, so it's got to be, I reckon, a T30. Yeah, T30, wherever that may be. And all I'm using for this is just a little set like that. That's all it is. And yeah, so basically undo these two. That's why I've got the window taped up, so that the window doesn't drop when I start undoing these. And they literally just undo both sides in here. Which, if you're going to replace the whole thing, the motor, regulator and everything else, that's fine. We're just going to get to the cable, which as you can see is snapped all back here, because they rust out really easily and just, well, they're just rubbish. So yeah, once I've taken them off, it's just a case of slackening off that 1, 2 and your third one up here. And as you can see, once you've slackened them off, you should be able to lift the motor up and they should slide straight out on all three, and then this whole unit can then come out through here. I will come back to that in a minute. Okay, so once you've got this out, this is what it should look like. This will probably slide up and down, but as you can see, there's quite a bit of resistance there. It's rubbish, it's not great, but all this is reusable. The only things we're changing is basically these cables, and that is it. As you can see, they've got to run up on these, so I'd suggest lubricating with a bit of either WD-40 or something like that, which is what I've got here ready to go, or grease or whatever. But as you can see, this one's pretty stiff, which would be another cause for why the cables keep snapping as well, I presume. I don't know. Just so we're clear, I'm not a mechanic. I'm just I do CNC engineering. I'm not a mechanic. I don't work on cars full time. I'm not a videographer, so this is just me doing me. So next thing you want to do is, you've got one T20 there, one there. Do not undo that one. You don't need to undo that one. That is just if you want to start exploring all these gubbins, and yeah, no, not for us, not today. So theoretically, we should just be able to undo this one and undo this one. Take those two off, and then it should just come away like so. So then you're left with this main cog here, which we do need to try and get off as best we can. If we can, it should just prise off. I'll come back to that once I've worked it off. Okay, so I've now got this bit out, and oh my god, that was a nightmare. That's probably the hardest part of this job, is to get that off of there, because as you can see, the shaft, it's all rusted up, it's all nasty, so that needs a good sanding down, and it's just all stuck inside that. And I've had to screwdriver it, heat it up with a heat gun, WD-40, and just keep prising and prising and prising. So just give it all a good clean up now and make sure it's all nice. Okay, so in the kit you're going to get two new cables with the springs already on. You'll see where they go, but they are two different lengths. So obviously, if you like me, got a cable that's snapped, you can just disregard that one. So what you have to do is, if you can see this here, I mean, to make life easier, you can actually just pull that off, and then you're left with this. And as you can see, the broken cables, they kind of just slide out of here. But remember which one goes to where. So obviously what I do is I mark that with a marker pen, so I know which way is facing up. Okay, so what I'll do here is I'll mark a T there for top, and then on here I'll put another T on there, so I know that's top and that's top. So the broken one, which would be the bottom, going to the bottom here, which would be this one here, that will be to this bottom one here. So I know that that one's there, so that can come out and go over there. And then the top one is at the bottom of this, so top to bottom and bottom to top. Once you take that out of there, you can measure it against one of these, and what you will find is probably they're slightly different lengths. Now I reckon this one was the shorter one, which went to the top, but it's stretched. That's what I'm thinking, and same with this one. So if I measure that one there, and then a rough idea of where this one goes, you can see that's a lot longer. So I think the shorter one goes to the top, which would be this one, top, and this longer one to the bottom. Right, I will show you the next steps. Okay, I can't remember which way round I've done it on the other one, whether I started with the top cable first or the bottom cable first. I think I started with the top. So with the top one, you're going to slide that in there, and then you can see down the side there is a channel, and if you turn it over, it's got to sit in this channel here and come out along here. That is your top one. Okay, the springs do compress, so it will make it a little bit easier. So that one's there. Then I will get the bottom one and I will put that into the top here. So that top one goes on there, that slides out there. You can see where they basically run. They're going to run next to each other. And that one runs down there to the bottom. So once that's on there like that, what I will do is I will try and feed that back on like so. That's all it does, is it just clips on and clips off, but do it towards the top. Don't do it halfway through the middle, because this is bowed. It makes it a bit more difficult. So at the top you get a bit more leeway on it. Then you've just got to, I always fed the bottom one on first, just so then we can now see that's all in there, that's all on there, that's fine. Top one, you can do the same again on the top, but I found it easier to leave the top one off for the moment, because leave that one up there, put that one there. Now you've got to put it in here. So now then, if I remember correctly, the bottom one goes in bottom. So all this does, let me see if I can't bring this closer over to here. Right, so with these, so I'm trying to look in the camera and do this at the same time, so it's a nightmare. There's a little channel that runs out, so the bottom one slides in like so. So you know that's going to go around there like that, and that's literally going to go like so. Now then, it's a good idea to try and line this up as best you can on here. It'll only go one way. It sort of sits in on these 3 points. I presume you can see what I'm doing here. So what we've got to do is just get that sort of in here as best we can, maybe like so. Run that round. I'll pause that there for a minute whilst I figure this out. Okay, one thing I've just discovered, these are bigger than these ones. There's a bit of a size difference. So all I've done is I've just very carefully, well not carefully, I've actually butchered this, but this is just a case in it. That's just a bracket to hold this on. This has now got clearance. It wouldn't clear. Sorry, video stopped. I have removed around here. So that should now go on there. Right. Right, okay, so we've now got that back on. Pulleys in there. I've done the 2 screws up. So the short bottom one goes once round. Just see it sitting in there. So it goes round on the top to the bottom pulley. Okay, and then back up and round through there and into the top bit of this. Then the top one comes from the bottom through here, up here. Now I'm holding it with my thumb because we've got to compress all this to get this over this top pulley here. So it goes up and over, round, down onto here. And as you can see, it wraps round twice underneath there and feeds in the bit on the underneath. So now we've got to try and push that in there, which will compress the spring in there, which will move that up enough to get that on there. So I'll do that and then come back. Okay, so finally I managed to get it on all the way up and on. Have to do this top one. This is the top. You have to do that one. You have to get it on the bottom one first because there's no clearance here for you to get the cable through. So you have to do the bottom one first and then wrap it round and onto the pulley there. It's tight, but it will do. The springs are in there running along their runners. So the top one goes to the bottom of the big pulley and wraps around twice, and then the bottom one goes round the top once to sit in a little groove just underneath there now. So yes, so now it's, once it's all on, what a pain in the backside that is, then let's go fit it to the car. Okay, so before you put anything back together, plug it in and actually test and see if it's going to work or not. How am I going to do this? Let's try it. I could try this, I suppose. See. Yep. Now when you do that, you want to leave that about halfway down so that you can get the bolts back through here and through here. But no biggie if you can't. You can always just slip this back in and see where it needs to line up, if you get what I mean. Okay, back in a minute. Okay, so once you have got it back in, you should line up the top one first, in, drop it in through that hole, and then it should drop down to where it is now. And if you do that at the right time, that one should do the same, and then that one should do the same. So you got that one, and then that one. And then tighten them all up. That should stick it back over, but just put a bit of double-sided sticky tape, and then obviously you can plug it in if you want, and line up that hole and that bit of glass and that one in there, and then screw that in, and then it's just a case of putting your door card back on, I suppose. I'll be back in a minute. Actually, whilst I continue, to get that screw in there, I found it easier to hold it in my fingers. Coming up through here, there's enough room for you to get your fingers in and put it through the hole there. Right, so once that's all done up and all back to good, my next bit of advice would be take all this tape or whatever you've got on the window up, take it off, because you don't want that going down inside the runners whilst you're testing the window. So take that off, and then we shall see whether this is a good or a bad idea. So here we go. It's all the way up and all the way down. Look at that. It'll take a little while. Put a bit of WD down the runners, make sure it's all lubed up, and it should be good to go. So when it comes to putting everything back together, we've obviously got this membrane or whatever it is here that needs to go up and round. So if you're like me and you only got half of it, or it's broken or whatever else, my best advice is buy a new one, because it helps keep the dampness and the noise out of all this, which is probably another reason why these cables snap so much. But yeah, definitely get a new one of these. I don't know where you get them from at the moment, but I will have a look, and if I find out, I shall let you know. Then just put your door card back on, obviously windows up. Don't forget to do those 4 screws up in there. 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then don't forget to do your one on the side of the door card there. And then you should be able to just pop that back on here, and that should, he says, should just pop. And also just remember that when you take the door cards off and that, you're going to break a few of these clips, so might be worth in the long run just getting some new clips. And that's it, that's the window done, all good. So yeah, fingers crossed, everything all works as it should now. Let's have a little look. Oh, excuse the state of this place. Let's have a little look. Might have to start the engine. It's gone in economy mode. Yeah, will do if you leave the thing on. But yeah, so let's have a little looky. Oh yeah, finally. Whoop whoop. Hope this helps. Sorry, it's a long one and I've jabbered on, but yeah. Cheers.